Okay, so we're all familiar with RWBY, yeah? Action-packed, anime-inspired, it's also a gun show made by Rooster Teeth of Red vs. Blue fame. Yeah? Cool. Thing is, the show has recently wrapped up its 6th volume, and while there definitely were things I enjoyed, there were things I did not. Or to put it more accurately, things I was waiting for but never came. In this video I'd like to take a rather subjective look at not the things that recent volumes have done wrong, but the things I started to miss when their absence became more and more apparent. So without further ado, I present the 3 things I miss most about RWBY, post-volume 3. While it is tempting to just say Pyrrha, Roman, and Yang's right arm and call it a day, the truth is these missing aspects are a bit harder to define than a single character or the magnificent fight choreography of earlier volumes. There are more things that create a general feel for the show, such as, number 1, an engaging villain. With the death of Torchwick and the mystique of Cinder removed, more on that later, we no longer have any antagonists who are either really fun to watch or who we are eager to learn more about. Salem is the big bad, but honestly, what have we seen her do in the past 3 volumes? She speaks ominously, is abusive towards her underlings, and killed a rather uninteresting and pathetic side character off screen. Whoop-de-doo. She doesn't come up with any clever plans, doesn't really demonstrate her abilities, and is just incredibly passive. This chronic passivity is sadly shared by her boardroom of evil. Tyrion is batshit crazy and had one impressive fight scene, but that's it. Hazel's power turned out to be can take a punch, and not much else. And while it is cool that he has a grudge against Ospen, blaming him for the death of his sister, it doesn't really explain why someone like him would work for someone like Salem. Dr. Watts is even worse off, not even having a single fight since his introduction, and his mood seems to be perpetual snarky disdain. We don't know his semblance, his motivation, his ideals, his relationships, nothing. The old guard doesn't really fare much better. Aside from one amazing scene between them, Emerald and Mercury have been pushed to the wayside so hard I keep forgetting they're still here. Adam felt incredibly inconsistent for a while now. Is he supposed to be an extremist with good intentions but horrible methods? A narcissistic megalomaniac who believes he deserves to be feared and respected? An abusive ex-boyfriend stalker who throws his ambition of race superiority aside to hunt down his ex? Is he supposed to be about fairness, rights, amassing power, or getting revenge on Blake, or all 3? I guess with volume 6 we got that answer.
You just left me alone.
And with his unceremonious death, we no longer have to worry about him, but that just leaves us with even less potentially interesting antagonists. Oh yeah, and there's also Neo, but Neo is working with Cinder again, which is incredibly uninteresting since A, Cinder doesn't care about Neo, B, Neo doesn't care about Cinder, and C, we've already seen them on the same side and it wasn't that engaging the first time. Cinder was interesting when she had an air of mystery around her and very limited screen time, but now we've seen her fail catastrophically multiple times and yet she's still the same arrogant, condescending, big bad wannabe she was in volume 1. Remember how in Avatar The Last Airbender, yes, the show, not the movie that does not exist, Azula was cruel, confident, and calculating, in other words starting with C, but then later on as she started failing and getting betrayed, she became unstable and paranoid. That's kind of what one would expect from Cinder. It doesn't help that just like Dr. Watts, we don't know her backstory or her motivation. Yes, she wants to be powerful. Cool. Why? Abused, scared, feels like she deserves it, superiority complex. What? Torchwick might have been a simplistic villain, but he never failed to make you laugh.
Oh, I can't believe that you caught me. You've really taught me the error of my ways.
Was shown to actually care for Neo, and revealed his worldview and the difficult position he was in, mere seconds before dying, but still. Plus, he had one of the best fight scenes in the whole show. Nice. All in all, you just don't get the same kind of anticipation for the second wave of villains due to a lack of screen time and motivation. Number 2. A sense of place. No, I don't mean I have no idea where the characters are at any moment. That's rather easy to follow. In Mistral, in Atlas, in Budget Mordor, in a young boy's head. No, what I'm talking about is the feeling you get when a show does a wonderful job of not just introducing and fleshing out the characters of its world, but also letting you get to know the place they inhabit, to the point that you almost feel like you yourself live there. The enchanted hallways of Hogwarts from Harry Potter, the busy streets of Ikebukuro full of gangs and weirdos into rah-rah-rah-rah-rah. Hell, even smaller places like the spaceship Serenity or the space station Babylon 5 can feel like fully realized, lived-in settings. The first 3 volumes did this with Beacon Academy and the city surrounding it. You often saw the dorms, the classrooms, ran into, or at least saw familiar faces again and again, and generally got a feeling of what it might be like to actually be there. Now, to be fair, since Volume 4, the show has gone into a Heroes on a Journey format, and it is difficult to get a sense of place when those places keep changing. However, there were still quite a few locales where we did spend a significant amount of time, and yet none of them felt quite as fleshed out as Beacon. Sun and Blake were in Menagerie for 2 volumes, and yet the only people we got to know were Blake's parents and the creepy twin Supreme. Weiss spent the whole volume back at home in Atlas, and yet we only ever saw her mansion and her horrible family. And when the team arrived at Haven Academy, the place was pretty much empty. Let the creepy, oh my god, what happened here, horror kind of empty, but the, oh, everyone's away on a mission or has been killed kind of empty. We don't meet students, teachers, graduated hunters, huntresses, just a cowardly headmaster in a big-ass empty building. A show doesn't need to take place in only 1 or 2 locales, but even if it's a story about traveling the land, it would be nice to actually see and get to know different facets of them. Otherwise, the world can feel incredibly small. And finally, number 3, a sense of fun. Ever since Volume 3, the show has pretty much gone off its antidepressants and started taking Valium. The energetic animations, the quick, quippy dialogue, the exaggerated anime-ish expressions, they're all gone.
They've all gone.
Along with a sense of excitement and adventure. Wait, I know what you're thinking. But Volume 3 happened, horrible things went down, people died, ships sank, arms got cut off, communication in disarray, Netflix cancelling shows, etc, etc. Yeah, I get it. The Volume 3 finale was the let's start taking things seriously episode. It raised the stakes and changed the tone of the show. But be that as it may, I still don't find that a good reason for the show to lose so much of its energy and vividness. Characters mostly talk in this lifeless, monotone voice, usually about how we must preserve, this is not going to be easy. Terrible things have happened, but we must go on. Most of them have pretty much lost their most endearing qualities, only to be replaced with angst. Tons of angst. Jean used to be a geeky comic relief, but now he's depressed and angry because Piero died. Yang used to be fun and boisterous, but now she's depressed and scared because Adam. Vice used to be snarky and uppity, but now she's depressed and angry because her father. Blake had the whole sarcastic loner thing going on, but now she's mostly just worried about Adam and the White Fang. Ruby herself used to be a lovable, socially awkward weapon nerd with more energy than a bag of kittens on coke, but now she's mostly just giving inspiring speeches left and right, like she remembered she had a gift card for them or something.
I am scared. But not just for me. We've done things that most people would call impossible. Shows that Salem doesn't care if you're Salem against her or not.
We do it because we just
kill anybody.
Oz hasn't been here to tell us what to do, but we still managed to get this far anyway. We've been in bad situations before. We didn't need an adult to come save us and tell us what to do. We just did it our way.
That's enough of that.
To be clear, I'm not against characters getting toned down in the face of tragedy or even being in a dark place for a while, but for the last 3 volumes, with the exception of a few scenes, they all just feel so listless. What, is everyone secretly carrying a miniature apathy grim in their pockets or something? And you know what the worst part is? This overbearing feeling of doom and gloom makes the few attempts at charm or comedy just feel out of place. Nora's antics, while appreciated earlier,
We'll break his legs!
now just feel forced. The few exaggerated expressions just serve to remind you how much more fitting they were in earlier volumes, and goofy characters like the Atlas Guards come off as annoying and pointless, getting in the way of the very serious main plot. Characters can go through trauma and even carry tons of emotional baggage with them, but that shouldn't turn them into people we're no longer interested in following. Now, even though I just spent 8 pages criticizing the show, I don't think all is lost. If we could just learn a bit more about our antagonists and have them take a more active role in the story, it would help to re-establish the thread that has been missing for a while now. Fair enough, world building can take up a lot of time, but hey, the team just arrived at Atlas, so I'm assuming Volume 7 will mostly take place there. Atlas is supposed to be tech-savvy, militaristic, and quite elitist. Let us see that, huh? As for the tone, hopefully with the death of Adam and John's pep talk with red-haired woman who just looks, sounds, and acts like Pira but is not Pira, okay you guys? The show can get some of its earlier charm and dynamic back. Whatever the case may be, I'm actually looking forward to the next volume to see what direction it takes. So here's hoping. Or you could just bring Torchwick back, that would work too.